Hey everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Movies for Life YouTube channel, and welcome to this 1982 horror movie review video as part of my overall 1982 horror movie series. So the movie we're going to take a look at today, I don't have the physical media for. It's a movie that I started watching on YouTube, and then I realized, well, I can't see anything. Very bad version on YouTube of this movie, at least the one that I found and saved to watch. So luckily they had it for free on Tubi, or I shouldn't say for free, but with ads, which is free. You just have to deal with ads interrupting about every 15, 20 minutes or so. But anyway, the movie that we're going to talk about is The Ghost Dance from 1982. So let's talk about The Ghost Dance. So The Ghost Dance is a 1982 American supernatural slasher film directed and co-written by Peter F. Buffa, and starring Julia Amato, Victor Mojica, Henry Ball, and Frank Salcedo. Its plot follows a Native American shaman who becomes possessed by an evil spirit that drives him to kill. It was the first ever slasher film to be based around and feature Native American characters. So the spirit of a malevolent, long-dead shaman, Nahala, is on Earth during an archaeological dig in the Arizona desert. The dig is overseen by local archaeologist and anthropology professor Dr. Kay Foster. Nahala possesses Aranjo, a local Native American man, after Aranjo steals a Kakina doll from Nahala's grave and performs a ritual with it. Through Aranjo, Nahala begins exacting a murderous rampage. First, he causes a truck to roll into the archaeological dig site, seriously injuring one of the workers. Later, Aranjo infiltrates the local museum after hours, where he kills Carol and Rick Haley, both colleagues of Kay's. Aranjo begins to stalk Kay and her boyfriend Tom Eagle, lurking outside her house one night. In research conducted by Kay and her peers, it is discovered that Nahala, a shaman previously unidentified by the academics, arrived in the region in the 1890s with an Anglo wife whom he kidnapped. Nahala formed an offshoot cult from the Ghost Dance, which centered on the notion of a world soon to be inhabited only by Native Americans and their ancestors. One night at the museum, Paul and Kay examine the mummified remains of Nahala, which have been stored in a medical laboratory. After Kay leaves, she encounters Aranjo, who appears in the darkness on a desert road. Terrified, she visits the local police station, but Tom believes she experienced a hallucination due to stress and a hectic work schedule. So yeah, that's kind of the long-winded beginning, setup, and premise for The Ghost Dance from 1982. As far as the cast goes, we have Julie Amato as Dr. Kay Foster, Victor Mojica as Thomas Eagle, Henry Ball as Nahala or Aranjo, Frank Salcedo as Ocaso, and James Adronica as Paul Michaels. Ooh, some difficult names there for me. But anyway, that's the setup, the premise, and the cast for the 1982 supernatural slasher movie, The Ghost Dance. This movie's just kind of whatever, in my opinion. I wasn't overly thrilled by it, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen either. It's just kind of okay. It kind of reminds me of The Awakening from 1980. If any of you are familiar with that film, not just because it's about an archaeological dig, but it just kind of has that feel. It's just sort of, there's nothing like edgy about it. There's nothing exciting about it. It's just kind of it's like fat-free mashed potatoes. So anyway, let's just go ahead and get into it. This will be a shorter review because I don't have that much to say about it, but I'll give you a few things that I liked about the movie. I will say it does have a pretty interesting story with Native American legend and lore that I did find interesting, with the different items and artifacts that are used to play into the overall premise of this character Aranjo being possessed by Nahala. The first half of the movie, I was actually quite into because just the way it was unfolding and everything that was involved, it was interesting. The second half of the movie, not so much. But there's that to start with. The setting of the desert area that a lot of the movie takes place in. I found that to be very effective and enjoyable. I think that makes for a pretty interesting and unique backdrop for a horror movie because it's kind of isolated. There's not a lot around it. Something like The Hills Have Eyes obviously stands out from a desert standpoint. So that was kind of effective here as well. I thought the score was quite good and effective in this movie. I didn't write down who did the music in this movie, but the score kind of kept me into the movie at certain times in the second half when I might not have been otherwise. So I give the score credit in that regard. There are some pretty good blood and gore / makeup effects. Nothing overblown, nothing overly great or overly exciting, but for what they have, it's decent. Especially like when you see there's a character you see that's killed, and then later they get unveiled, and you kind of see their mummified corpse, if you will, that I thought looked pretty decent and creepy. And then my final pro is I thought the first half of the movie, which I was much more into, the first half of the movie I found to be intriguing and somewhat engaging because of the score and the story more than anything. So, yeah, you could do a lot worse than this movie. You really could, especially for an early 80s slasher movie. But it is a supernatural slasher. I know there's some people that they're kind of picky about their slashers. They don't like supernatural elements. They just want it to be a real guy that's going after people, or a real person, I should say, not just guy, not to be sexist here, to go after people in a slasher kind of way. But this is a supernatural slasher. As far as cons go, it's a kind of a slow moving movie. It's only about 90 some minutes, but I don't think it's that well paced, especially the second half. I was kind of bored at certain times. There's a lot of characters talking and explaining things and basically talking about the story that we're already experiencing. I don't know. It's just kind of like, come on, guys, let's move it along here. This isn't very. Nothing was really keeping my attention with this movie, especially in the second half. I didn't think the kills, well, there are several kills, I want to say like 5 to 7. They're not overly gory or interesting. They're just kind of there with some stabs and some strangulations. Nothing memorable. The ending of the movie with the freeze frame at the very end was pretty lame for me. It's kind of standard and cliche as well, having to do with a character's possession and whether or not a character is still possessed or not. Yeah, it was pretty typical and not in a good way for these kind of movies during this time. And then finally, I wasn't overly engaged in any of the characters that we were introduced to. They felt kind of bland and two-dimensional to me. Nothing that really separated them or engaged me with them. So, yeah, I don't know, guys. I tried to search for some other things, but there really isn't much to this movie. I just kind of found myself saying, well, okay, I watched that. Moving on. I was actually kind of surprised to see that Vinegar Syndrome has the release of this movie, The Ghost Dance. So there must be some people out there that like it. And as I said, it's not terrible. It's not the worst slasher movie I've ever seen. It's not even the worst horror movie I've ever seen. It's tolerable. Although I don't necessarily see myself needing to add it to the collection. But I am glad that I found it on Tubi, because if I had to watch that version on YouTube that I first saw, I mean, you couldn't see anything. Even during the daylight hours, when there was light, everything was still off kilter. So glad to have it. Glad to have another version that I could watch that was much clearer. I'm guessing the Vinegar Syndrome version would have been like that. So anyway, I'm going to give this movie a 6 out of 10. It's fine. It's fine. That's about all I can say about it. 6 out of 10 for The Ghost Dance from 1982. Go ahead and comment down below if you guys have seen The Ghost Dance from 1982, what your thoughts are on it. Do you like it more? Do you not? Why or why not? Comment down below. Please like this video, hit the little notification bell, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It'll really help me out going forward on my channel and the content that I have going forward. But with all that being said, thank you for watching. I hope you're having a good holiday season, but as always, stay scared. Bye.